All right, good Saturday morning to everybody out there in the hobby verse. My name's Chad Newman, Sports Card Nation. This is episode 166 of Hobby Hotline. We are on Saturday mornings like today at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific, and Tuesday nights, what we call our overtime edition, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We're going four wide as we started in July. So I'm joined by three distinguished gentlemen. I'll introduce them now in no particular order, but from on the top of the screen, we got Logan Ward from NASCAR Radio. Morning, Logan.
Good morning.
And below us, only on the screen, we got Yam Wax, Corey Donovan. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
And Heroes for Sale, Adam Palmer. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here as always.
All right, so we're not going to start with national talk. I don't know if that'll make some of you relieved or some of you disappointed, but we're not going to do it. But something happened Thursday night. So I do sometimes watch this show, Go GTS Live. Although Thursday night I do a lot of editing for Friday's show, so sometimes I don't catch the whole thing, or sometimes I miss it, unfortunately. But Logan Ward, I'm gonna acquiesce to you here because you saw it as it all unfolded, and I'll just kind of set it up for you. As many people who watch that show know, they break product, or I should say open product, on that show, kind of for review purposes, and give away all the hits. Well, they did that and pulled a big card valued at $20,000, and then came up with the idea that Signatures for Soldiers, which is a great charity, and the official charity for the second year in a row at the National. They decided maybe we could do that organization good. So they just they mentioned that, and then I guess some folks probably were glad, and some other folks were not so glad that they wouldn't be able to possibly win it. So I'll kick it to you, Logan, and then myself, Adam, and Corey will kind of weigh in on our take based on what happened. So go ahead.
All right. So like what John said on Thursday night's Go GTS live show, they ripped a box of 20, 21, 22 Panini Prism basketball. The last card of the last pack, they pulled a Scotty Barnes Gold Auto number 4 of 10. And number 4 is also, his jersey number. So, yeah, it was crazy. So, as with everything that they do, Rob first said, hey, we're going to give this card away. Well, the chat lit up. They're going, oh, my God, this is like a 20K card at least. And, people were just absolutely going crazy about this. And, I was too. I'll be honest with you. I was caught up in it as well. And as time went on, as the show went on, Rob, he took a step back and went, whoa, I need to think about this for a minute. Maybe we need to do a poll on what we need to do with this card, this being such a big card of such magnitude. So one of his thoughts was, hey, let's just do a poll. Maybe one of the choices would be A, give it away to the viewers, B, give it to Signatures for Soldiers. So some people were on board with that, and others were not so much on board with that. After he said that, I thought, hey, that makes really good sense. They would do a lot of good with that card, send it, giving it to Signatures for Soldiers. So that was pretty much the crux of it. Like I said, some folks were not happy about it, not being able to get that card that night. So I haven't seen the poll yet come out. I'm sure it'll be in the next day or two. So, be on the lookout for that. But I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I love that initial reaction right away. Like, they pulled an insane card, great hit, built some excitement. I mean, it's good for their brand. We're talking about it, everybody's talking about it, but I think what's much bigger is what they can do with it, and what others can do with it. So if it is for the soldiers, Signatures for Soldiers, that'd be a beautiful thing. I'd love to see where that vote goes, but I think the community is going to be pulling for it to go to those who can use it, and what a great time to do so.
Well, I agree. I mean, to me, That's for a lot of people, that's a life-changing card to pull anything that's like a 5-figure card or even a 6-figure card. Because, they've pulled like, many 4-figure cards over the years, and they've given those things straight away that night. But they have never pulled anything like this. And I'm on board with that. I'm on board with the signatures for soldiers.
Yeah, I think with a card like that, taking a step back is probably the right decision there. And, if they still want to give it away, that's fine. If they want to give it to signatures for soldiers, I can't imagine why anyone would have an issue with that. Like, I suppose it kind of is like with a lot of news that goes on in the hobby. Usually half the people like it, usually half the people don't like it. So maybe it's just like a microcosm of sort of when things go on in the hobby for the most part. But also, I think, like you said, with that card, it's better to have the process, in my opinion, for what they're going to do with that card take longer than to hastily give it away to somebody and make a decision right away and be like, this is what we're doing, because who knows what type of implications there are with that type of card. I mean, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 cards they're more common in the hobby now than they used to be. But I think I just think that giving it away, if you know that, I think the $20,000, like you said, is a little bit different than $1,000, $1,500. I just think that there's probably more implications for that card, and slowing down and making a decision that takes a little bit longer, I think is probably better for them and probably easier to explain rather than, like I said, making a hasty decision with what they're going to do with it.
All right, Logan, we got a couple comments, and Bo's got a hot take that I want to play off of. First, John's going to come with the comment. He says, give it to Ken Golden. He'll turn a 20K card into a 10K card in a few days. So there's your early leader for comment of the show. But let's get a little more serious. I do love it, JK. But, Bo says, hey, kind of like a breaker promising to give away a Trevor Lawrence hit, backstepped and gave money to charity. Backyard Breakers gets heat for it, but Go GTS doesn't. Here's the difference, though, and I'll see what you guys say. And with Backyard Breakers, I hate even giving them a free plug there, but that it is what it is. People bought into that break. People were paying customers. That I think is the difference here. Go GTS doesn't charge anybody. This product is, I'm assuming, donated by either Go GTS or the manufacturers themselves, and they give away everything. No one has paid a dime to enter the break. No one has a team or a player ahead, like where they know they're getting that card. And that's the difference. So there's no money exchanged hands. This is all giveaway only. Go GTS is not profiting other than the ratings or the downloads or the listens CPM, and that's they've also put a lot into production, so that kind of goes with the territory. So I don't, you can't, to me, you can't I understand where Bo's coming from, but this is apples to oranges. If this was a paid break, for sure. No doubt. Now, I have a question, Logan. They said they're going to put up a poll. Did they say they would do whatever the poll results say, or are they just trying to gauge the room?
No, they're going to do whatever the poll says.
Okay.
That was what I got from Rob when they were talking about it on Thursday night. That they were going to put up a poll now, and like I said, a couple of the choices. I mean, I'm sure they'll have more than two different choices. But one of the choices was, of course, give it to the viewers, or B, give it to the signatures for soldiers.
Hey, Logan. Logan, had there been a viewer chosen already for the card to go to, or was it going to be a random draw?
It was going to be a random draw. No, they had not gotten to that point in the show. They do that.
See, that's a big difference too. If it hits pegged for one person, they know, hey, this next pull is mine. The big hit is mine from this pack or the last pull. And since that wasn't designated, I think that is a big part of the equation.
No, they did not. What they do now, what they used to do is they would do a giveaway that you had to retweet for every card that they pulled that they were, like I said, that they were going to give away. But now what they do is they just have like one big pool. It just makes it easier for them to do it. And they do that. They literally do that. That is the last thing of the show because they want you to watch the show all the way through. So they want you to wait for the winners at the end. And of course, they have other segments like Hot in the Hobby and other things that they do while they're doing the randomizer and getting ready for the drawing.
So here's a couple comments from folks we know. Little, I don't want to say surprising. Everyone is entitled to their take. Victor, from our show here, says they should follow past practice to throw this curveball because one person suggested it in the chat. Backpedal midstream is a bad move. Now, I that I'll agree with a little bit more than comparing them to backyard breakers as Bo did. But Bo has people who agree with him, like KBO, who says, I agree, Bo. Just give it away as normal. Not everything has to go to a charity. And this is coming from someone who ran a charity. That card may do something great for that person or that family. It's true. I mean, whoever gets it is going to be a benefactor. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Whether it's signatures or, Mike Jones in Dubuque, Iowa, either one would benefit from receiving that card. And both, a giveaway is a giveaway. I'm not going to give a pass here. And again, you can't argue with that. So, and Bo's got a question for us. Would the panel have the same views if backyard breakers gave that money to signatures for soldiers? No. Again, I'm going to go with that's a paid break where there were customers buying, whether it were teams, a random spot. That's the difference there. So if I bought the Jacksonville Jaguar spot and that Trevor Lawrence was pulled, and then they said, hey, we're going to give the Trevor Lawrence to Signatures for Soldiers. No, I would not be. That would be my decision to make because it's my card. Now, if I win it and then I say, myself, rather than keep it, I'm going to go pass it down the line to Signatures for Soldiers. That's one thing. But again, this is apples to oranges. We're comparing a paid business break, and that's what it is. It's a business to a charity. Hey, we got these boxes. We're giving away some stuff. Now, if you say they should have just kept the party line, what they've always done, and not veer off of that, I can't argue that. That's your opinion. But I will argue comparing a paid break to a non-paid giveaway charity type thing.
John, I think you hit on a good point. Context matters, paid versus unpaid. Have they been doing giveaways for years and always giving cards to those they're breaking for? And then, veer a little bit to say, let's make this bigger, right, in the moment, right? Are they wearing shirts? Are they not wearing shirts? I mean, these things are important to know, right?
I also think,
yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say, it's sort of, it's a hypothetical. Like, I think it's hard to sort of make a comment on something like, the if backyard breaks did this, would be people say the same? Like, well, they didn't. So, like, it's really like, hypotheticals can get dangerous because it's like you could kind of make up any scenario and be like, would you be all right with this? And it's like, I don't necessarily know. Like, I think, I just think also with it being, I don't know, I'm sort of torn. I think I've seen other people's arguments that they've been making here and saying that if they've been doing it one way forever and they just decide to do it another way, maybe that's not ideal. But at the same time, like, if it is, I don't know, if it is like the biggest card, I guess, in their breaking, like I said, taking a step back and making the decision a little bit differently, I think is probably a good idea, whether it goes to Signatures for Soldiers or it gets given to somebody. Like, I don't know. It is kind of, my thoughts on it have changed a little bit, honestly, just in the past like 15 minutes that we've been talking about it. But it's sort of flip-flop back and forth between, like, I think that it should go to Signatures for Soldiers. I think it should go to someone in the chat because it always has. But I don't know. It's like I said, it's a hypothetical that I guess I don't necessarily even really know how to feel about it, because also I think one of the other things is that, like, that type of card, maybe everybody isn't pulling that type of card every day. Maybe breakers are, but like, if it's the biggest card that GTS is ever breaking, they're open, then that's a little bit different. I don't know. It's like I said, I think I flip flop back and forth, honestly, in my opinion, on what should kind of go down here.
Yeah, a couple more comments. Victor following up a disclaimer at the beginning of the break addressing such an issue is the long-term fix here. Professor Kurz. I agree with that. Maybe they need to say, listen, we're going to open some stuff tonight, give it away. If we happen to hit something of significance, we're really looking at giving it maybe to this charity. But then again, then someone will say, well, what is significant? What do we determine? If it's $10,000, we get it. If it's $10,001, it goes to signatures or whatever charity you've selected that night. It's still kind of gray. Here's a good point. Bo's not going to back down, and I appreciate that about him. He says backyard was not a paid break. They claim the contents of the last two boxes would be given away for free to their new Twitch followers. The only thing I'll say there is people knew what they had. In other words, the Jaguars guy knew he was getting any kind of Jags cards pulled. So it was kind of predetermined. I would get any, if there's a nice Trevor Lawrence card that comes out of this, I'm slated for it. I think that's the difference. With the Go GTS, it was just everyone has to retweet, that sort of thing, and then they do a randomizer and pick a winner after the fact. Not even though maybe Backyard Breaks didn't charge for the break, people knew what teams or they had, and were hoping that someone from that team that they had would be, picked for them. So I put the link if anyone wants to jump on, including our own guys, if they want to come on and talk about it verbally, rather than me just put these on the screen. This is Ziggy. He says, if Go GTS does random the Monster 10, I'm in the drawing to win, and that's like a 1 in 30 shot. And if I do win, it's going to charity. If you weren't there, you don't understand. Charity is the right. So it's definitely moving the meter on both sides. And like Adam said, he's even kind of rethought his original position. And I can see, I guess, everyone would love to get a card like that for free, right? Which is what would happen here in a giveaway. I don't know, I'm sure Go GTS and Rob and them are probably, what do we, how do we do this? And probably piss, I'll come from the coaching aspect, right? You try to do things where, somebody's going to get pissed off, but you try to probably piss off the least amount of people. I don't think there's any answer here where they win 100% of the room. I think those, like we stated, those days are over. But how do we do it? And more people benefit than don't. And I don't know. Maybe to give away, Tim from Signatures so I'm gonna assume he may not have been watching, doesn't even know what happened. Maybe can GTS write a check for $2K? I'm spending other people's money here. $1K, $1,000, $2,000, and still give the card away to a person, and maybe even heavily suggest, hey, if you wanna, if you sell that or whatever, give a percentage when that day comes to Signatures. That will obviously be up to the person who gets the card, but something along those lines where everyone Signatures for Soldiers still benefits from $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever that amount is. Insert amount there, and then the person still gets the card. I think that's maybe how I would have probably done it without, like Victor says, without sort of a disclaimer at the start. I think that does, it does change it a little bit. I mean, thoughts on that or some of the comments we're seeing?
Well, I'm going to have to go with what John Keating said. They are going to give this card away. Does anybody know if Backyard Breaks actually gave that card to charity or did what they said they were going to do and follow through with that? Because I can guarantee you I know Rob, he will do the right thing. Does anybody know what Backyard Breaks did? Did they really do what they said they were going to do?
I also, my last kind of thought on this, like, I just think it's such a unique situation that, like, our industry hasn't really had issues like this, with the growth of product and with the growth of everybody kind of coming in. Like, it's a new problem that I think we're running into where, if there is some sort of giveaway or there is some sort of break or anything, I just think that somehow somebody, and I know there's like I forget his name. I think his name is Paul on Twitter. I forget his last name, but he's like he looks into like lawsuits.
Lesko.
Yes, yeah. So like, I feel like if he were to somehow, he probably understands the terminology and how, like, from a lawyer's perspective, like, there probably needs to be some sort of disclaimer. Like, I think someone in the chat was saying at the beginning of every break or the beginning of every giveaway, like, it's at the breaker's discretion of what exactly happens. Or, maybe it's the other way where it's like, these are the rules and this is exactly what we're going to do every single time. And I just think we're running into these situations more and more. And we just don't know what is the right thing to do. Like, obviously, I think everybody in here and everybody in the chat has made really good points of like what should be done and what, or what shouldn't be done. But I just think that, like, I think, John, I think you said you want to make the decision that's maybe going to piss off the least amount of people. And that's really kind of what I think it's going to come down to in this kind of scenario, I think.
Adam, I think just another last point here too is the complexities of breaking are just that, right? And you do need a lot of these parameters involved. And even like you said, my thought process on this is evolving, but I like what John Keating said too, that it is a giveaway in the end and they're still doing a giveaway, and I love it either way. But the one thing I'm seeing from just this conversation, it's been a great one to kick off, John, and the chat has been phenomenal. I love that the hobby is in great shape. The core of this hobby, the heart of the hobby, when on a beautiful July, morning, we've got just so much fire in the chat. All these people commenting, this great discussion going on back and forth between the live chat and us here. And, if anyone wants to jump in live, I hope they do.
Yeah, and John Keating, he would like some government regulation in the breaking industry. So I don't know if that's going to cross Biden's desk. He's got a few other things, maybe a little bit bigger than that, but who knows? We can have, the government oversee the breaking side of the hobby. But if John, his humor, and some of his humor hits home. That one makes me chuckle because, breaking is kind of like the Wild Wild West. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we can't question Go GTS or Rob and his co-host kind of, motive here. They're not keeping the card. Whatever the end result here is, they're not getting the card, whether it's signature for soldiers or a viewer of their program. Someone's going to get it. Like John Keating said, it is given away. We may not like, the decision, but, again, with the backyard breakers, like Logan said, we really don't know. We have to go off, them saying what they did and make the assumption that they did that. And no one really knows. I think with this, again, we don't know here either, but it's a pretty it's more a safer assumption that they're going to do what they say they're going to do based on their track record and that sort of thing. So someone's going to benefit, whether it's signatures for soldiers or someone that was watching Go GTS, maybe Logan himself here, and we'll see. Brad's going to jump in. Apparently, this is you're I thought you were in Vegas.
Skid marks.
By the way,
the flight got delayed.
Today is Brad's birthday, so I'll let him come on.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Brad.
So the flight got delayed by like 45 minutes. So Mrs. Texas Card Dude gave me permission to load up the computer and jump on and yell skid mark a couple of times, and then we got to run. So I've been listening in the background and wanted to jump in with the call, with the conversation down a little bit, and just go skid mark.
All right.
All right, y'all have a good one. I
Hey,
enjoyed
happy
it.
birthday. We'll see
Thank
you.
you.
Birthday,
Happy
dude.
birthday, Brad.
Can't wait to see everybody in a couple weeks. Oh, I almost pulled a John Newman and hit the end
They don't
broadcast
do that.
button.
The one time is too many. All right, I'll never live that down. All right.
But
Well,
hey, John,
it's yeah.
One thing about all this is they are going to do this democratically. They are going to let people vote on what to do with this card. It's not like they're going to say, hey, we're doing this or we're doing that. They're going to let the people decide it. And as you say, the hobby is the people.
Yeah. So now if the people vote, right, and the vote comes out to, hey, give it to the listeners, the viewers, and then they don't happen to be the one that wins it, then they're gonna say, hey, we should have gave it to Signatures for Soldiers.
Yeah.
It's called hedging your bets. It's a tough deal. I understand Victor makes a good point. Like without sort of a disclaimer ahead of time, you sort of go into the broadcast thinking, hey, I'm gonna potentially win all these cards I'm about to see pull. I get it. I'm sort of like Adam said, after hearing some both sides of the argument, if you will, I'm not as steadfast in kind of my original stance. But it's somebody's going to benefit. I mean, charity is obviously a good thing. It's nice that they are letting the democracy reign here with a vote, that they're going to honor the vote. I don't know if there's going to be people's jamming the ballot box and voting 18 times, like to say. I don't know how they're going to do that, but what is it on Twitter?
Yeah, it's going to be on Twitter.
All right, so you really can only vote once per Twitter screen name, but if someone has 4 or 5 Twitter accounts, they can get those 4 or 5 votes. But we'll see how it all plays out. I don't think it's terrible on Go GTS. I mean, they're still giving away the card to somebody or an organization, but probably gonna. I think they'd say themselves they learned probably a lesson in this, how to, maybe have something ahead of time to sort of avoid any kind of future controversy. So it's probably going to be a teaching moment for them. I know that sounds weird, or a learning moment for them, and we'll see. We'll see what the future Go GTS broadcast kind of bring. Maybe we'll have that beforehand. And like we said, maybe you just say, before, hey, anything valued over this is going to go to this charity. And I'd like to see them, as much as I like Signatures for Soldiers and I love them and they're on my show every year, and I donate myself, but maybe even pick one. Go GTS is usually every week. Maybe you pick one every week, and even if maybe they could even do something where if a big card like that's not pulled, which is most likely going to be the case, then the case is they can even ask people, hey, PayPal, $1, $5 to this week's charity. That way the charity doesn't get, they're not a name of the charity, and the charity doesn't get anything, whether it's $50, $100, depending on how many people donate. They could put kind of the link during the show. I mean, that's just a thought of mine off the top of my head. So they're gonna figure it out, I'm sure. And I think we could debate this, but I think they'll get that right, and probably won't be talking about it again. But we'll see. So Logan, you're kind of the man of the show, I guess. The other topic I had, and we'll close with some national talk, but the PSA, the $18 level. First question to you: you're in the collectors club, because is your phone ringing or texting off the hook for everyone? Hey, will you sub these cards for me?
I've had several people. In fact, I got some cards from actually from Brad yesterday that he wants me to submit for him.
I haven't hit you up yet. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Brad sent me some cards yesterday, so I've already added them to my order that I'm taking up to Atlantic City. I'm going to drop them off there, and for $18, I mean, that's, to me, it's still a little high. You know, I was hoping for $12 to $15. I don't know if it'll ever get back down to that, but at least it made it under $20, which I think everybody's threshold at one point was, hey, it's going to be $20 and we'll never see it under 20 again. So at least we're seeing under 20.
Yeah, I didn't think we would. I've said that even on my show. I've said it on this show. I thought $30 would be the lowest you'd ever see PSA grading. So to say I'm not surprised, I'd be disingenuous. I mean, this is kind of a special. Do you think this is a price level they can get to for everybody with no strings attached?
I think so. I think eventually they're going to have to, because the backlog is going to be done probably, in my opinion, by the end of September. So at that point, you know, they've got all these graders, all these people that they've hired to deal with the backlog. They're not going to want to let anybody go. They've spent a lot of time and a lot of effort training these people in the ways of PSA, and they're going to have to do something to generate more income. So in order to do that, they're going to have to lower the prices to get more cards in. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see, I'm hoping for 15, and I'm holding out for that, maybe even less. But like I said, they're doing like 50,000 cards a day. And when you're ramped up to that kind of volume now, and they can support that volume, you know, and the backlog is gone, they're going to have to do something to get more cards in, to keep those people busy, keep the graders busy, keep all the shipping people busy, all the researchers busy. They're going to have to do something. So to me, it's going to have to be lower price points for sure.
Yeah, I just got all my stuff back for the most part, except one card, which I expect in the next couple weeks. All my stuff is back. It took 18 to 20 months, including my first time I've ever sent a actually sealed pack, the PSA. That's
Cool.
92 Stadium Club basketball that happens to have a Shaq rookie on the top. So this is the first time I ever sent a pack. It got graded an 8. I have other packs too, Logan, that I do want to send in, but it's a little pricier to send a pack in. I don't know even now. That pack they were hanging on to for about 18 months until I just got it back. Is anyone worried, like with this lower price level, even just for Collectors Club, that they might get backlogged again? Is that a concern?
I don't know. It's possible, but I think that they'll be able to regulate that. You know, if things get out of hand, you know, they may say you can send them in at this price, but you can only send in so many until we get our backlog back. But I don't see them getting back to that point again, because you have to think that when that backlog occurred, somehow it leaked out that the prices were going to increase, and everybody was in panic mode, going, "Oh my God, I've got to get my cards in there like right now before the price increase." So they just literally, they call it a tsunami of cards. I mean, they had like 12 million cards come in like within those few weeks. And, you know, that's very overwhelming. I don't see how anybody can handle that, but I don't see that situation coming again, because, you know, their prices have increased. They're going to, what am I trying to say here? But anyway, their prices have increased. So I don't think you're going to see that kind of demand like they did at the $8-10 level.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think it's going to be like an experiment of sorts, at least from the observer standpoint, to see what happens, you know, supply side, demand side. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the urgency of price increases, I think, did trigger so many people to try to just get it in ahead of time, because it was one of the worst kept secrets ever when they raised the prices. But now there's probably people waiting to see, is it going to go lower? Like you guys were saying, maybe we do see 15 and wait for that, or even lower. And we'll know, you know, if that 15 comes out in the fall or later this year, you know, we'll know that the demand wasn't there for whatever reason. Maybe it wasn't the trigger. Maybe it's just things are a little slower right now. But I know for me, I literally just went to the site and started entering my details right now, because I collect a lot of different sets and a lot of crazy cards that aren't worth a lot. Important thing to remember is this is a $200 cap, correct? $199 in value of the cards. So I have a lot of cards like that I've just sort of been piling up, and I'd love to help work on some sets. Another caveat of this, offer is that they don't do any oversized cards or strange sized cards. It has to be standard size. And to me, that's kind of a bummer because I collect all kinds of weird non-sport stuff. So there are ones I'll have to wait for later, but we keep seeing those restrictions ease over time. So I would guess some of those things will come next, where you can submit any types of cards at this level with the next promotion.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think that they'll have the tall boys and the smaller cards. We hopefully we'll see some things for some tickets and some other things as well, and packs like what John's talking about.
So here's a question: it's what $199 declared value? Is that what I say it's worth, or what they the team? In other words, could I send a Jim Brown rookie, which is obviously more than $200, even if it was hit by a Mack truck, right? Can I send a Jim Brown and just in that declared value box write $199 and that's all it's going to get insured for? Or are they going to say, nice try, John. It's a Jim Brown rookie. This doesn't qualify for this promotion.
They're going to say, nice try, dude. Nice try.
That's what I figured, but I just wanted to, because the way it's worded, it's sort of a kind of, declared value. I could just say, listen, I'm not as big as Jim Brown, I'd be lying, as the next guy, but, I just wondered if people could be, do that kind of stuff and still get their cards graded for $18. The chance you would be taking if PSA allowed that is, it's only going to be insured for the declared value, and if that package doesn't arrive, you're going to get $200 now instead of your Jim Brown rookie back, So, and we've heard those cases. We've heard that happen before. I just was wondering if, they'd allow you to do that, which I don't blame. I mean, you can't do that. It's not.
Does PSA, do they so declared value, I think, is very vague, and I think it has been sort of vague for a while. So is it what's really the point of the declared value? I get that they can sort of upcharge you, but at the same time, is the upcharge so that way they can insure the card for more? Could you, is there and I've gone through a couple group subs, but I never graded myself. So is there a way to opt out of getting insurance, and then that way the declared value doesn't matter? Because having declared value on some of these subs really just makes it seem like a way for PSA to sort of objectively say, we're going to charge you more if we want to. Also, because it's when, and they probably, I don't know this, but maybe one of you guys do, declared value, when do they declare the value? Because if you were grading cards at one point in 2020, you could have been sending in one card, and if it wasn't coming back for a year, the price could have tripled, and then you're stuck paying a bunch of declared value. Or it's if you're sending in Bowman prospects, and I think we've talked about this on the show before. If you're sending in Bowman prospects and it's somebody that maybe people don't know of, but it takes them 8 to 12 months to get it back, and then they somehow miraculously have a great season and get called up to the majors, what happens there? It just seems like declared value is it feels like it's an objective. It feels objective to me. Same with, the grading in general is all sort of objective, what's this grade versus that grade. But at the same time, I don't really understand the declared value other than the insurance, but it feels like you should just be able to opt out of insurance if you want to, I guess.
Yeah, well, they're not going to let you opt out of the insurance, and the declared value is the value of the card once it's graded. So if you send in a card and you think it's going to be a PSA 9 and you're seeing comps for that PSA 9 at $500, then your declared value is going to be $500 more. That's how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So because I agree with you. For me, when I first started doing it, was kind of vague as well, because when I started submitting, I thought the declared value was the actual value of the card ungraded. Mm-hmm. So I was actually
right. That's the other thing. How can someone send in a card and know what the declared value is going to be if it's all dependent on the grade? That sort of seems a little bit it seems like if PSA wanted to, which I don't think that they would do this, they would just grade. They would look at values of certain cards. For example, if you were to send in a Shaq 1992 upper deck, one of the number one upper decks, there's a billion PSA 9s and they're probably worth like a couple $100, maybe even less than that. But like there's only a few PSA 10s. So like if they wanted to, they could just grade it a PSA 10 and it's like 10 times the value. Now, like I've said, I don't think PSA would do something like that. But if you're running a business where that's sort of the model, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine. I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility. That's not happened a couple times. So like that, it's declared value to me. I don't really like the terminology and the way that they do it. It should be what I guess when the card is submitted, but at the same time, it's like they also don't start the clock until they open the packaging. So it's like it's hard. It's hard. It's definitely an industry that's like not easy to kind of run. And I think just to go back to pricing really quickly, like I think with PSA, they've shown that they're willing to experiment with prices. They've done a bunch of different things at a bunch of different times. Like when they shut down grading, they still kept the $300 grading open. And then they started opening up other ones, but then they had like higher priced, quicker grading. So, other than maybe Topps and Panini, they probably have the most amount of consumer data out of any company in sports cards. So like for them to come out with an $18 price point, that's not just random. They're not just pulling that card out of nowhere. Like they have the data, and I think that they have the data and they're trying to get more of the data. So like I think the $18, if they say they aren't getting as many cards as they expected, maybe they do go down to $15. But I think it's sort of up in the air, I think, sort of what direction PSA exactly wants to go, because then they also make the decision recently to start grading the star rookie card, which sort of messes up a whole market, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like it sort of messes up the whole Jordan market, like because for forever Beckett and PSA never graded that card. So it's like sometimes I don't understand why PSA does things, and those are some of the things that like I guess I kind of question what they're trying to do or what their business model is, I guess.
And the parameters of what sets real value are interesting to me too. And just talking about that valuation change, John, you finally got your cards back. I'm still waiting. I had a value sub from February of last year, so a year and a half. And just watching the roller coaster, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get upcharged like crazy. And now it's coming back down where I'm not as worried about upcharges at this point. Those 150 cards. So we'll see. But I had a card, a 1997 Tomy Charizard that I submitted. I submitted 8 of them. And in between there, this is a card that never been graded or sold before. One got graded, sold by Golden for $8,800 and $8,500, I think. And they set all the upcharges based on that one sale, the only sale that had ever happened. So I got upcharged $300 a piece on, I think, 5 cards that hit an 8. Meanwhile, now the card sells for $1,000 to $2,000 a piece. It was just the one-time burst of a brand new card on the market. So one comp set a huge overcharge. And that kind of stunk for me. But you'll see that, like, how many comps do there have to be until a market is actually set? What is that market value? I don't know.
I'm assuming they're using Card Ladder for their analytics. I don't think you buy a company and then use somebody else. So I think that's probably a safe assumption. I'm not an upcharge guy. I think it's, I'll choose my words carefully here. It's almost scam-like to me. You send a card in to get graded, right? It's a card, right? You send 10 cards, you pay whatever card. What I think they should do, rather than, even the word upcharge has like a saying it doesn't make you feel good, right? We're upcharging you. It's like going, it just has a bad connotation to it. What I'd like to, they're not going to do this, but what I'd like to see PSA do instead of this upcharging is after everything's graded, right? And they send you, here's your grades. Here's how everything graded out. Let you choose the insurance level you want. If that's, hey, I want to send this package back and insure it for $1,000. Send this package back and insure it for $50,000. Send this package back and insure it for $100,000, and pay the actual insurance prices on your cards. But you order something, you pay per piece, right? You don't pay because they should want all these nice cards. Why are they in turn smacking us on the head for sending in good cards to them? So I think the upcharge is, I don't like it. I've been very vocal with that. I haven't had a ton of them, so I'm not even complaining from, being, taking it on the chin a lot. I just think it's, you pay whatever the submission fee is to grade your cards, and then you should pay whatever insurance level you want for the cards. If you have a big order with a lot of expensive cards and you got to pay for $50,000 insurance or whatever that number is, right? Then that's what you pay. But for them to say, hey, this card, we need to insure it for this. And I really just question sometimes if the upcharges actually matches what the insurance coverage would cost. I think there's some built-in profit margin there. They're not going to tell you that, but I think there's some algorithm going on there too for their benefit. I think they should let the consumer or the submitter, in this case, determine how much insurance they want on their package coming back. If someone, if it's $30,000 worth of cards and someone wants to be cheap and say, hey, just put $1,000 insurance on that, I want to save a few bucks, let them. That's the chance they take, right? You better be very trusting of FedEx or USPS or what have you. But I'm not an upcharge guy. I've never been. I think they should do away with it. I don't suspect they will. But, the other interesting thing here, guys, too, is with them going to $18, even though it's Collectors Club only, you know how this is going to work. I'm going to give Logan stuff. Brad gives Logan. So people who are not in the Collectors Club are still going to take advantage of this. But now what is, SGC, who in my opinion has been pretty firmly entrenched at the number 2 slot for a while now. They were at one point the lowest price level and the quickest turnaround at $30. They're a sponsor of my show. I have conversations with them. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that $30 price level and their turnaround time. I do not believe they'll be at the National. I think they will be doing what you saw last year, which is a lot of giveaways and breaks and just getting their name, having more of a fun time with it. But it'll be interesting to see how, CSG, SGC, those other kind of company, Beckett, how they respond price level wise with the $18 level. That's what I'm curious to see as well. Any thoughts there?
Well, I'm sure it's going to spawn everybody else to lower their prices as well. I mean, because now everybody's going, hey, I'm sending everything to PSA, and they want a piece of that pie too. So I'm sure we're going to see some lower prices from some of these other people.
Yeah, I think it's all a numbers game too when it comes to grading. Like SGC probably doesn't look at it and say we're trying to take over PSA's spot as a top grader. I don't think that would ever happen. Like I think that they can maybe start to get a little bit closer. Like I think, in my opinion, I think SGC has done more to solidify themselves in the top 3 than Beckett really has over the past few months, years, like 2-3 years. Like PSA is the industry leader, and I think they probably will always be the industry leader. So I think SGC and even Beckett and some of the other smaller graders, they probably look at it and say, there's a percentage of how many people are getting their cards graded. We want 5 to 10%. Like whatever we can do to get 5 to 10% to keep our business kind of sustaining, that's what we're looking to do. If PSA makes a decision, maybe they do have to pivot, but at the same time, like I also don't know. The other kind of points about this is like I don't think many people are like changing their opinions on grading. Like I don't think anybody can really, at this point, any grading company can really come in and become like, the solidified in that top 3 conversation anymore. Like I think I don't even know what would have to happen for something like that to happen. Like I think, you have your opinion on Beckett, PSA, and SGC. I don't necessarily think that too many people are changing sort of their thought process. Like, pricing, and that pricing may be one of those things. Like if SGC comes out and does $5 subs, like I think that would be something that maybe people would want to send them over PSA. But I don't know. I just think everybody pretty much has their opinions, and you're not sending your cards to SGC thinking you're going to get the same value in terms of if you were to sell them on the secondary market as you would PSA. Like it's getting closer, but I just think what you're getting when you're sending these cards to certain companies.
I think people look at 3 criteria, Adam. It's a great point by you when determining like who they're subbing to, right? I think it starts with price point, right? Like I like PSA and SGC, but if they each charge $300 a card, I'm probably not sending any cards to anybody. So I think it starts with price point, and then I think it goes to what you said, right? What is sort of the general consensus? Like you can send your card to Mike's Grading Company for $5, but put your Mike's Grading Company card on eBay, and you'll know the difference, right? So I think
you'll get $4 for it,
yeah.
probably.
So it's obviously resale value or reputation, if you will, is probably a second point of criteria, and then the third is turnaround time. I mean, we all want our stuff back. I mean, that's one of PSA's biggest complaints, right? Is hey, I have my cards there almost 2 years, right? SGC, I got my cards back in 10 days,
Right.
and I think that's why they've made the biggest strides out of, if you want to call it the big three or the big four and include CSG. I think that's why, because their reputation is good, and you're going to get your cards back quicker. And at one point, they were very, one of the cheaper ones, way to go, and you get your cards back quick. So I think those are what people look at. I have, if you ask me, my graded inventory, it's PSA, SGC, and a little bit of Beckett. I'm quite frankly, full disclosure, a lot of what Beckett graded cards I have, I've either I bought maybe a collection and it kind of were in that, or if they were mine, they were subbed probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I still have the cards, whatever ones they are. So I'm more of a SGC PSA guy right at this point. But things can change, and but you're right. For a new company to try to come in there and crack the code and get into the top three, good luck to you. We saw, like John Keating put a comment, the big buzz with HGA, and I was the guy like, they're making all sorts of mistakes. You better be careful here. And we see where they are now. And I pile on them enough. I'm not going to do it anymore. It is what it is. But yeah, it's a great point by you. It's tough, and I think the field's sort of set, right? It's just what seed is each grading company, 1, 2,
Right.
3, or 4, and you ask different people, they'll give you probably different answers sometimes. So, but that's the fun of it too. But yeah, I think that's where we're at.
Well, hey, you have to look at it, I think, too, from a couple of different lenses. From a collector's lens, a lot of people, they have their grading companies they want to deal with, and they're not as worried about, I mean, sure, you're worried about turnaround times, but you're not as worried about it, let's say, as if you were a flipper and you're wanting to flip a card quickly. You're wanting to send it to whoever you can get it back from the fastest, right? So there's not an allegiance there. So a lot of these people are going to go with HGA or, SGC or Beckett or whoever, CSG. They're not going to go to PSA. So you have to look at it, I think, from that lens as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, whatever your angle is, right? You might like a company for different reasons. But I will say this though, Logan, they're not wrong. But I've sent cards in for grading that are PC cards, right? That I'm not going to sell. I still want them back as fast as I can get them.
I do too. Don't get me wrong. I want mine back as fast as I can get them too. And I can remember back when I first started subbing with PSA, I could send in a value order, in a month I could have the cards back. Of course, that's not true these days. It doesn't work that way. I'm hoping they get back to that, and I think they probably can get back to that eventually, but it's just not like that today. And I'm with you. I want my cards back as soon as I can get them too, because I want them graded. I want to be able to put them in my sets. I want to be able to look at them. All the things that the collectors like to do with their cards.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, the land. I think, like Adam said, I think the landscape is fairly set, at least for the established companies. For someone new, there's people don't realize there's over 100 grading companies. If you literally researched and start listing them all, you would be well over 100. Most of them you've never heard of. I've never heard of. They're out there. You need a plastic press that encapsulates stuff and a printer, and you can do it. And but again, you get sort. I don't want to say you get what you pay for, because that's not completely accurate, but reputation goes a long way. If you just want, we talk about GMA, right? If you just want your stuff protected for $5, you can put it in a GMA case, but it's pretty much going to be a raw card that you just encapsulated, right? So to each their own, right? Every company has their their proponents, and but I think we're at the big 3 or 4 now, and like Adam pointed out, it's probably going to be that way for the who knows how long, if not forever. So I would not, if I'm looking to start a business, grading company is not on my list, quite frankly, at this point. I think it's going to be a tough market. The powers that be that kind of are at the top of that list have a stranglehold on their spots, and it's going to be very, very difficult to come in. Because even if you came in at a lower price point, someone will say, well, you're just another GMA at $5, right? You're not. So
yeah, and also with PSA, like you said, at $18, like what the price point, what if your card is, I don't know, and it all depends. Like you said, I think there are like CSG, I think, is a good one. Like there are other grading companies that I would consider, but it's like, if, like you said, Mike's grading company or whatever the name you use, like if you just want to get your card sent in and get it like authenticated or whatever, put it in a case, like that's fine. But at the same time, like the price point, you can get PSA for $18. So it's like, I don't know. And like Logan was saying too, like it used to be where you could send it in 30 days and get it back in 30 days, but that's not really the case anymore at a like $5-10 price point. So it's really just, I don't know. Like I think that was kind of my point, is like everybody knows what they're getting when they're sending cards to a specific company nowadays. You're not sending your cards anywhere, and then the experiences that people have with grading companies are very well documented. So you're not going to be necessarily surprised by what happens. Like you're not sending your cards to PSA and then being surprised that they don't come back right away. Like you're not sending your cards to SGC and then being surprised that they're not the same price as PSA, or Beckett may be another example. But it's like a lot of people, especially when people have bad experiences, like those are probably more documented than good experiences. But at this point, there's so many people talking about cards and so many people talk about grading. Like, I mean, just an example, I think almost every show that I'm on, we talk about grading. So it's like, it's one of the big topics within the hobby that everybody is always talking about. So like, you're not going to be surprised by anything at this point with grading, I think.
Here's just briefly, this is a great question from Dan Ryan. He said, well, what if Fanatics, bought one of these companies, existing companies like Beckett or CSG, and totally shift the landscape? And I agree with John, who followed that with this comment. That would get ugly and scream a conflict of interest. I'm not saying Fanatics is the devil, but I don't think Fanatics has that love that people be like, oh, they're going to come in and save the day. I think people kind of look at them sort of a little bit like the evil empire. Just these guys are all about the dollar sign. So I don't think them buying a Beckett or CSG, like Dan mentioned, would it change the landscape? I mean, yeah, a little in some capacity, but I don't think that automatically catapults a Beckett or CSG to 1 or 2 by any stretch of the imagination.
I think that there is a relationship between CSG and Fanatics already, because Jay-Z owns a company that bought. Jay-Z owns an investment company that bought a piece of CSG, and he also owns a piece of Fanatics. And Michael Rubin is big into like the hip hop world, so like I'm sure that he's had some sort of conversation with either Jay-Z, maybe not Jay-Z specifically, but Jay-Z's investment company that has already invested in CSG. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Fanatics came out and was just like, yep, CSG is just now, maybe it's not Fanatics grading. Maybe it's the same thing they do with Topps, where it's like, I don't think Topps isn't going to be it's not going to be Fanatics as the main brand, and then Topps is like the sub brand or whatever. It's going to be Topps as the brand. It's just owned by Fanatics. So I could see something similar there. I also don't necessarily think like, I don't think at this point so far, Fanatics has really tried to push themselves into Topps' territory, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, so I could see that happening with CSG, where they'll promote CSG or whatever they want to do, but they're not going to try and make it like Fanatics grading, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, I think you're exactly right, Adam. And like you said, in a small way, it's already happened, and it hasn't really moved the meter that much. I think it just, I think most people say, oh, Fanatics just buying more people out, but I don't think it'll change the overall opinion. If let's use even Beckett, for example, if they announce, hey, this morning we acquired Beckett, including the grading end of things. I really, people will be talking about it for sure, but I don't think the discussion will rev up. I don't think it changes how people view Beckett grading, especially initially. And I think it could even work in reverse. I think people
so too.
It's a conflict of interest. I agree with John Keeney's number, and now it's a conflict of interest. That rubs me the wrong way. I don't want a grading card company grading cards they produce themselves. Like it's called third party grading for a reason. It's not called first party grading. It's called third party grading. So I don't, I hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, I actually don't think it's going to be as earth shattering as they would probably hope it would be, or some people think it might be. So, all right, guys. I think Yam had to run, but we're 11 days. We're up about the hour, so we'll kind of wrap this up. We're 11 days away from the National. Unfortunately, I know, Adam, you can't make it this year, but we hope to see you next year for sure in Chicago. For Hobby Hotline, a little shameless plug. I believe it's Friday, July 28th. Well, I know it's Friday. I think I got my date right. July 28th, 10 a.m. We're going to do a live at Mike Burkus' main stage, like we did last year. Last year, we only got 30 minutes, and there was less of us. So there's more of us. We got an hour. We want to be interactive, maybe take some questions from those in attendance, and look forward to that. We'll have 12 or 13 of us on the stage. I don't know how that's going to work. It's going to be interesting. You might want to just come to see how that all plays out. Forget the content, just to see the dynamics of that. But we're almost in single digits here, and I got a pat on our backs. We really didn't do everyone's talking about it. I understand it. Why I get it why, but we sort of avoided some a lot of national content, which is always overdone at this point this year. But I definitely want to plug the live Hobby Hotline, which will be Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Any parting words, guys?
So like you said, John, I'm unfortunately not gonna be able to go. So I think, my one tip for anybody going is just try to have a good time. Like, you have, 365 days out of the year, you can sell cards on eBay, or you can sell cards however you want. The National only comes around really once a year. So it's like, if you're going there and, you're struggling to sell some cards, like, I don't know. I went last year, honestly, and I was planning on selling. And then I saw, like, I think a 12-year-old roll up to someone's case with like a bunch of Patrick Mahomes RPAs. And I had like raw Rafael Devers rookies. And I'm like, I'm just, you know what? I'm not selling anything. I'm just going to sell it on eBay when I get home. Like, the 12-year-olds, honestly, they know what they're doing, the 12, 13-year-olds. So just watch out for them because they'll try and swindle you if you're not careful. But like I said, if you try and sell stuff and you can't right away, just, go and try and have a good time, meet some people that you've been talking to online, have some dinners, grab some drinks with people, like, just have a good time. Cause the last 2 years I went, it was a blast. And I'm unfortunately not going to go this year. I'm hoping that next year things will be a little bit different, but just go and just try and have a good time. That's kind of my main tip, I guess. Cause it's going to be overwhelming. That's also the other thing, is like, it's going to be overwhelming. So expect overwhelmed. So if you get halfway through one of the days and you're just like, oh my God, what's going on? Just take a step back, slow things down, go grab, a hot dog or something like that. And just kind of, have some fun.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be like a big hobby reunion, family reunion. It's just there'd be a card show, kind of, kind of with it. So for me, it's just going to be having fun with my friends. Buying cards will be probably almost as important, but not quite as important as just hanging out and having fun, like what you said, Adam.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'll piggyback what Adam said, right? We're there to buy a few cards, but it's more than that. As he pointed out, it's those conversations, meeting people for the first time, meeting people for not the first time. You kind of circle this week every year with the intent on going and hanging out with people, going to dinner, like Adam said, and it's sort of a hobby vacation for for people in the hobby, right? We get to do something we enjoy for 5 days. Hopefully, if you go the whole week, or 3 or 2 or 3, depending if you come in for the weekend. But if you're not having fun at the National, I think we'll close with it. You're doing something wrong, because I don't know why you would go there if you're not intent on having fun. And that's and you don't have to spend, like Adam pointed out, you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money. Especially if you're driving. I mean,
especially now because prices compared to last year are down pretty significantly on a number of different cards. So like last year, basically everything was up. This year, there's still some things that are up, but for the most part, you're probably able to find some deals. I mean, and I guess one other tip that I've heard, not that I've ever experienced this, but Sunday afternoon when everyone's leaving is a good time, because dealers will probably give you some deals because they're just trying to get the cards. They don't want to bring cards back that they brought there. And then also Wednesday is like the Wednesday or Thursday, the first few hours, like that's when people maybe they priced cards a week ago, and then maybe they've gone up or down. Yep. So that's another kind of thing to look out for, just at least from what I've heard, people's experiences at the show.
Yep, great points. And yeah, Sunday, a lot of people, like you said, I'm a dealer. I don't set up at the National, but right, unless you have to lug home, the better off. Plus, you want to make some, depending on how you did the prior 4 days, right? You want to sort of be more in the, in the black. So you might sell some stuff a little cheaper than you anticipated. It's a good opportunity as a buyer to maybe get some last minute steals or deals. So great points. All right, guys. With that being said, thanks everyone in the chat. The chat was, as usual, on fire. We appreciate you listening or watching or chatting, and you can catch us on any major podcast platform if you didn't catch us live. We'll see you Tuesday night with another edition, and we'll be back here for another one of these on Saturday.
Happy birthday, Val.
Yep. Happy birthday, Val and Brad. Yep. All right.